Welcome to Time Travelling Team, the podcast where we review every episode of Doctor Who right from the very beginning. I'm Tricia.
And I'm Paddy. This week, we join the Doctor and Ace as they fight Nazis, Cybermen, and an evil woman from the 17th century in an effort to save the Earth in the 25th anniversary story, Silver Nemesis. As usual, we'll be discussing the Doctor, companions, and villains and giving our thoughts on the story as a whole.
We would also love to hear your thoughts on this story, so as always, to join the discussion, you can check us out on our socials at TimeTeamp, that's TimeTeamp, or you can email us at timetravelingteamp@teamproductions.com. So, Paddington, if you wouldn't mind, please lead us off with the recap.
I will surely do. Part 1. In South America in 1988, a man named De Flores is approached by one of his assistants, saying that he has wonderful news. The two go to a drawing room where they meet a platoon of armed men. De Flores says that it is a momentous occasion as they are poised to carry on the legacy of Adolf Hitler and establish the Fourth Reich. His assistant, Karl, gives the men the order to leave and then presents De Flores with an ornate silver bow, which he puts in a case before joining the troops. Meanwhile, in England in 1638, Lady Penford and her server Richard go to the laboratory of a doddery old mathematician who carries on with his work while ignoring their presence. Penford gives Richard a bushel of golden poisoned arrows, and he gives her a silver arrow and says that they must wait for the mathematician to finish their calculations. A few moments later, the mathematician finishes his work and says that the comet that they've been tracking, called Nemesis, will come within Earth's orbit every 25 years. However, he says this orbit is decaying and will eventually crash to Earth in 1988, landing in the exact same spot it launched from. Elsewhere on Earth in 1988, the Doctor and Ace attend an outdoor jazz performance. However, their enjoyment is cut short when the Doctor's fob watch rings a reminder alarm. He says he can't remember what it was for and that they should go back to the TARDIS to find out. As they make their way back, they are fired on by a mysterious assailant and are forced to dive into a nearby river for safety. A pair of men wearing headphones emerge from the bushes to search for them, but leave when there is no sign of them. The Doctor and Ace emerge a bit further down the river. Meanwhile, back in 1638, Penford and Richard killed the mathematician to use his blood in an arcane ritual. They drink a potion and Richard begins to panic as they are teleported forward in time to 1988, where Penford's home is now a cafe. Elsewhere, the Doctor and Ace arrive back at the TARDIS, and the Doctor takes out a customized boombox he built for Ace that he says also is a miniature computer. Ace asks who were the people that tried to kill them, but the Doctor says that it could be anyone, before saying it is more important to find out what the reminder is for. He says the reminder usually means that the planet is about to suffer an imminent catastrophe, and when he activates the boombox, it shows him an image of Earth. Ace asks when he initially set the reminder, and he says 1638. They leave in the TARDIS and arrive in the cellar of Windsor Castle, which is filled with various antiques. The Doctor says they need to find a silver bow and begins to look around. Ace asks for more information as to what is going on, but he says there isn't time to explain. Suddenly there's a massive explosion outside, and the Doctor says that the comet has landed back on Earth again. Ace then spots a bow case nearby, and they go to look at it but find it empty. Ace then sees a plaque with a description saying that if the bow, which was stolen in 1788, is ever removed from the castle, then the world will be destroyed by a silver statue when it returns. Ace asks how a statue can destroy the world, and the Doctor says he will explain it when they go back to 1638. At that moment, De Flores and his men arrive near the landing site, where they see the area being guarded by police. Karl says that they should be easily overpowered, but De Flores says that the statue inside the comet will be too hot to handle due to the re-entry, and they can return for it later, knowing that it will be kept safe by the police. The TARDIS stands back in 1638 in Lady Penford's home. The Doctor shields Ace from seeing the mathematician's body, and then takes a look at the calculations he made on the Nemesis comet's return. Ace asks about the bow, and the Doctor says that it came from a statue Penford had ordered of herself, made from silver metal that fell from space. Ace asks where she is now, and the Doctor says that she is now in 1988, having gotten there through a combination of alchemical science and a rudimentary knowledge of time travel. Ace asks about the silver metal, and the Doctor says it is a living metal called Palladium, and it is capable of causing great destruction. At that moment, Penford and Richard arrive at the crash site and observe the police examining the impact site. Richard says that they should wait for the right moment to steal it, and Penford agrees, saying that they should hide for now. She says that she will use the power in the Nemesis to take revenge on the Doctor for previously thwarting her plans. A short while later, several tubes emerge from the impact site and spray gas at the policemen guarding it, causing them to collapse. Elsewhere, the Doctor and Ace arrive back at the present-day Windsor Castle and try to sneak in. They take cover when they see someone approach and narrowly avoid meeting the Queen as she takes her dogs for a walk. They follow after her into the castle but are apprehended by security. The Doctor insists that he needs to speak to the Queen, but the security guards mock his explanation as to how they got into the castle and statements about impending danger. The Doctor then puts on a pair of glasses that he uses to hypnotize the guards. He tells Ace to run as the effects are only temporary, and the guards soon chase after them. As they flee through the galleries, Ace spots a portrait of herself that says it was drawn over 200 years beforehand. The Doctor says that the event hasn't happened yet, but the guards arrive before he can say any more, and they continue to run back to the TARDIS. Back at the impact site, De Flores and his men arrive to find the policeman unconscious. Carl opens the bolt case and they watch as the bolt pulses with energy, mirroring a pulse coming from inside the comet. De Flores asks it where the arrow is, but the Doctor and Ace suddenly appear. The Doctor tells the soldiers not to shoot, but De Flores demands to know who they are and where the arrow is. Ace asks why the arrow is important, and the Doctor explains that in order for Valedium to become active, it needs to reach a critical mass. He said that unless the statue, the bow, and the arrow are together, they will remain inert. De Flores asks how he knows so much, and the Doctor says that he is merely very observant, and points out that De Flores hasn't asked about what happened to the policeman, nor noticed the recent series of electrical outages in the area. De Flores tries to shoot Ace unless he gets the arrow, but they're interrupted by the arrival of a shuttlecraft. They all watch as a group of Cybermen emerge from the ship. Part 2. The Cyber leader greets the Doctor before one of the soldiers opens fire on him. A fight then ensues between the Cybermen and De Flores' troops. The Doctor dives for cover inside the crater, and Ace follows after him. Penford joins the battle, firing golden arrows at the Cybermen. She then decides to pull back and let the other two groups kill each other before taking the Nemesis for herself. However, she sees the Doctor and Ace run back to the TARDIS, carrying the bow, and fires after them. De Flores orders a retreat and orders Carl to retrieve the bow case, not realizing the Doctor has taken the bow from within it. The Doctor returns back to Penford's home and burns the work of the mathematician, whose body has disappeared. He tells Ace that the mathematician must have begun his work based on something the Doctor left behind and needed to burn the work so no one else would replicate it. They go back to the TARDIS and the Doctor explains the origin of the Valedium. He says it was created by Rassilon and Omega back at the start of Time Lord Society as a means to protect Gallifrey. He says that some of it landed on Earth somehow, and he tracked it to Penford's home in 1638. He launched the Nemesis statue into space, leaving the bow and arrow behind, but calculated its trajectory incorrectly, which meant it would eventually land back on Earth in the future. He tells Ace that he intends to use the bow to locate the arrow and the statue, which has now been claimed by the Cybermen. Back in 1988, Penford and Richard are accosted by a pair of thugs as they make their way through Windsor Park. However, they manage to overcome the thugs and leave them hanging nearly naked upside down from a tree above a fire. Elsewhere, the Cybermen bring the statue to a crypt under an abandoned castle, and the Cyber leader orders the rest of their fleet to be summoned. However, the broadcast is interfered with by a broadcast from the Doctor's modified boombox. The Doctor and Ace then return to the TARDIS, discovering the hanging thugs along the way and free them. At the abandoned castle, Penford and Richard arrive, having been guided by the arrow. Richard says that there is something about the area that unnerves him, and Penford reveals that it is actually his and hers future burial site, showing his own gravestone. The arrow then pulses at the statues nearby, and they continue on into the castle. Unbeknownst to them, they are being observed by the Doctor and Ace. They watch as a squad of Cybermen approach the castle, but pull back when Richard begins firing golden arrows at them. The Doctor spots the Cyberman ship nearby and asks Ace if she has any Nitro 9. She says that she has obeyed his instructions not to make any, but knowing that she is lying, tells her to use it to blow up the ship, which she goes to with a grin. The Doctor draws away the guards, who were the same men that tried to kill him and Ace earlier, and she throws her backpack of Nitro 9 into the ship, destroying it. Ace then joins the Doctor in his hiding spot, and she watches in horror as the Cyber leader kills the men for their perceived betrayal. The Doctor explains the origin of the Cybermen to Ace as he leads her back away from the castle. Meanwhile, De Flores and Carl arrive, having seen the explosion of the ship. De Flores offers to ally with the Cybermen, saying that Hitler had once foretold her their coming. The Cyber leader says that they don't need to help with humans, but De Flores says that they can eliminate Penford for the Cybermen, as his men do not have any vulnerability to gold. The Cyber leader agrees and says that they would share the planet with De Flores after they have won, but threatens them not to betray the Cybermen. De Flores agrees and leaves with Carl, and the Cyber leader orders that they be killed once the Valedium has been gathered together. Elsewhere, The Doctor has Ace use the boombox holographic map to scan the solar system, saying that there are more Cybermen out there somewhere. Ace asks how he can be sure, and the Doctor explains that the Nemesis comet generates a destructive energy field that affects everything around it. He says every 25 years when it re-entered Earth's orbit, it caused a catastrophic event, including the start of World War I, the rise of Hitler, and the assassination of JFK. Ace goes back to checking the scanner, now understanding the full extent of the danger Earth is in. Back in the castle, Penford and Richard discover the statue in the crypt and attempt to leave with it. However, the Flores and his men arrive, and Richard, panicking, throws the arrow at them and flees with a protesting Penford. The Flores tells Carl to leave them, and they watch as the statue slowly comes alive and grabs the arrow. The Flores tells Carl to give it the bow so they can unleash the statue on the Cybermen. Just then, the Cyber Leader arrives, and the Flores threatens him to stay back, saying that he now controls the Nemesis. However, the Cyber Leader asks where the bow is, and they are shocked when they open the empty case. Back in the woods, the Doctor, spotting a small lizard emerge from hiding, realizes that the Cyberman fleet must be camouflaged somehow. He adjusts the scanner, and he and Ace watch as thousands of ships appear on the scanner. Part 3. Ace asks what they can do to stop the fleet, and the Doctor says they have no other alternative but to reunite the bow with the statue and the arrow and use the Millennium to destroy it. As they make their way back to the castle, Ace says that she is scared of what they are facing, and the Doctor offers to take her back to the TARDIS. However, she refuses and presses on ahead with him. Back at the crypt, the Flores tries to negotiate with the Cyber Leader, but he refuses to listen. The Flores then throws a handful of gold dust at the Cybermen and uses their momentary weakness to flee with Carl. However, Carl betrays him and returns him to the Cyber Leader before offering himself up for cyber conversion. The Cyber Leader thanks him and sends him back into the crypt with the Flores and orders a squad to go find the Doctor and Ace. Elsewhere, Richard leads Penford out of the tunnel exit into the woods. She says she doesn't understand his devotion to her, but thanks him for saying that they must go back and reclaim the statue. Back at the crypt, the Cyber Leader is informed of the interference being stopped from the boombox. He orders the fleet to begin their invasion. The captain of the Flores says that they still need the bow, and the Doctor won't willingly give it to them. Just then, the Doctor and Ace appear and manage to avoid the Cybermen with a game of keep away before placing the bow back with the statue. The Nemesis statue fully activates, and the Doctor tells Ace to run as he takes the bow with him, saying the statue will follow after them to retrieve it. Its activation is sensed by Penford, who tells Richard they need to hurry, saying that soon she will have power over everything. The Doctor and Ace arrive back in the TARDIS and go back to 1638 to destroy more of the mathematician's calculations. The Doctor returns to a chessboard that he has been playing with on each of his return visits, and Ace asks him how the Millennium got to Earth in the first place, knowing that there is something he isn't telling her. However, the Doctor doesn't answer her and instead finishes the game before saying they need to leave. As they go, he tells her to grab a nearby bag of gold coins. They then arrive back to the crash site in 1988, and the Doctor says the Nemesis statue will be here soon. He tells Ace to be ready in case the Cybermen arrive, but to not cause any more explosions. She acknowledges his instructions, instead taking out a slingshot for the gold coins. A few moments later, the Nemesis statue arrives, and the Doctor begins to give it the bow. Ace approaches it, entranced by the statue's glowing angelic visage. The statue speaks to her, saying that it has had several different separate appearances, some of which would horrify her. It then says it will soon begin its appointed task. Back in the crypt, the Cybermen leave for the crash site, leaving Carl with the Flores. Once they are gone, Carl frees the Flores, revealing his betrayal to be a ruse. Meanwhile, Penford and Richard have been picked up by a limousine owned by an American socialite named Remington. Remington strikes up a conversation with Richard, saying that she has come to research her family lineage in the area. Penford offhandedly reveals that the family were rivals of hers before talking to herself again, saying that she will soon control everything. Back at the crash site, the Cybermen arrive and hunt for Ace and the Doctor. Ace launches a series of hit-and-run attacks, killing several Cybermen with the gold coins, while the Doctor continues to program the Nemesis statue to attack the invasion fleet. However, she loses the bag of coins and soon finds herself cornered on a catwalk by the Cyber Leader and two others. He says that she has only one coin left, which she fires at him, causing him to fall. She then ducks and the other Cybermen kill each other in a crossfire. Down below, the Doctor gives his final instructions to the Nemesis statue. It asks him if it will be granted its freedom after it completes its task, but the Doctor says not yet before taking the bow from it. Ace arrives but is captured by a pair of Cybermen, but the Doctor pulls her out of the way as the comet test fires its engines, incinerating the Cybermen. However, before the Doctor can say anything, the Flores and Carl arrive and take the bow from the Doctor. The Flores prepares to give the bow to the Nemesis statue, but he and Carl are killed by the cyber leader, who is only wounded by Ace's attack. The cyber leader demands to be given the bow or he will kill Ace. Suddenly, Penfort and Richard arrive and a tense standoff begins. Ace refuses to give the bow to anyone, but Penfort threatens to reveal the Doctor's true origin unless it is given to her. Tensely, the Doctor takes the bow from Ace and instead gives it to the cyber leader. Penfort angrily threatens to tell them everything about the Doctor, but he says that he has been using her the whole time. The cyber leader tells the Doctor to deactivate the Nemesis statue's previous instructions and instead rendezvous with the invasion fleet. The Doctor obeys him and takes the bow and gives it to the Nemesis statue. The cyber leader says that Earth will be converted into the new Mondas, the Cybermen homeworld, and Ace begs the Doctor not to give in. However, he pulls her aside as the comet prepares to take off. Her sanity finally snapping, Penfort jumps into the comet and merges with the statue before it takes off. The Doctor, Ace, and the cyber leader then watch via the holo projector on the boombox as the comet approaches the invasion fleet. However, the Nemesis statue destroys the fleet, and the Doctor reveals that he never altered its instructions. The cyber leader prepares to kill him and Ace, but Richard stabs him with a golden arrow, avenging Penfort. The Doctor thanks him and says that he would bring him back to 1638. Later, as the Doctor and Ace celebrate their victory with a game of chess, she asks him again who he really is. However, he coyly smiles as he motions for her to be quiet as Richard and another musician perform for them. End of the story. So, that is the story recap out of the way, and now to learn more about the story that I have just recapped, we go over to Trish. What have you got?
Cool. So the air date of this story, this beginning air date will be no surprise given this is the 25th anniversary. So the air date is the 23rd of November to the 7th of December 1988. The writer of the story is Kevin Clarke. This is the only Doctor Who writing credit for Kevin. He also wrote the novelisation for the story as well. The director of the story is Chris Clough. This is the final story for Chris. The final time I'll have to try and pronounce his name. Mm-hmm. We previously saw his work in Terror of the Vervoids, The Ultimate Foe, Delta and the Bannerman, Dragonfire, and last week in The Happiness Patrol. This story had the working titles of The Harbinger and Nemesis. As it was the 25th anniversary story, they decided to add the word silver in the title to give a bit of a double meaning because, you know, Cybermen are silver and 25th, this is also silver. Oh, How intelligent of them. The tours at Windsor Castle consist of a number of Doctor Who alumni. This was originally done as a tribute to Jonathan Turner, who was expected to be leaving at the end of the season. And in the crowd, there's Nicholas Courtney, Andrew Morgan, Peter Moffat, Fiona Cumming, Graham Curry, Ian Fraser, Kathleen Bidmead, and Kevin Clarke. And the aliens, Stephen Wyatt, had hoped to participate, but they weren't able to go at the end of the day. We see the Doctor's replacement stereo that he made for Ace, although doesn't ever fucking let her use it, so whatever. Originally it was meant to have Zygon-like speakers to show how he cobbled it together from different alien technologies, but these are replaced with more conventional, easier to identify technologies. The site where the warehouse and the main battle sequence takes place is actually the site which would become the Millennium Dome another 12 years after the fact. For the sequence where the policemen were gassed, the visual effects assistant Mike Tucker suggested using cybermats, which you may remember from way back when. Even going so far as to build a new cybermat prop, but Andrew Cartmel disliked the creatures and the notion was dropped. So obviously we have a bit of a royal theme. Jonathan Turner tried to get Prince Edward to make a cameo appearance. Edward was a fan of entertainment, the entertainment industry, and he was working as a production assistant for Andrew Lloyd Webber at the time. J&T had hoped that a cameo role in Doctor Who might appeal to Prince Edward, especially given the Windsor Castle setting of the story. However, because of his duties with Andrew Lloyd Webber's really useful theatre company, he wasn't able to be involved in the serial, and he was replaced in his script by Queen Elizabeth II, who was, of course, portrayed by an actor and not the woman herself. The production office did actually ask permission to film at the real Windsor Castle, but they were informed by the Buckingham Palace press office that fictional projects were never filmed at the royal residence. And the only thing allowed to be filmed there was documentaries and that type of thing. This story marks the only on-screen appearance of the Mark 7 Cybermen, and I'm sure we'll talk about them more when we get to Cybermen, but I'm not entirely disappointed at that. I wasn't a big fan of this design. This is the only time we're going to see them. David Banks didn't feel that Cybermen were well served here. He felt that gold had become a bit of a go-to thing, and it made them look weak. His comment was, the writer didn't understand the Cybermen, so he used them as a metaphor for Nazis. I will also come back to this later on, because I have big thoughts on that. By all accounts, the shoot was kind of shit. Like, the make of this is really bad. When Jonathan Turner brought in Kevin Clark, Andrew Cartmel apparently jumped on the train back to London to escape the poisonous atmosphere. Things got so bad that at one point Sylve actually lost his temper and snapped at Sophie Aldred, which he didn't obviously do as a regular thing. Those two got along very, very well. According to the cast and crew members, the only reason why Anton Diffring, who played
The Flores.
The Flores, thank you. The only reason why he wanted to even be in the show was because the film occurred at the same time as Wimbledon, and he'd get the opportunity to watch it in his hotel room. He lived in the south of France at the time and couldn't easily get access to watch Wimbledon. Validium is obviously the MacGuffin metal in this story. Was originally named Macarionite, which I actually kind of prefer, but I think that's just because modern films have thrown me off any fake thing that ends in Ian.
Yeah. Unobtainium.
Chris Clough was very unhappy with the quality of the special effects and the models used in the story. I don't know I think they were kind of a 50-50 split on them. Some of them were okay and some of them were
Well, like the one thing I noticed was like that the cyber weapons didn't have the blue ring that goes from them anymore.
Yeah. Anton Diffring, let's go back to him for a second. He'd never seen the series. He didn't like the scripts. Didn't like the fact that he was playing a Nazi again. I had no idea what was going on. Interestingly, according to Chris Clough on the DVD documentary, Anton actually fled Nazi Germany because he was liberal and gay. And so the fact that he kept being cast as a Nazi and things maybe didn't line things up. I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. I don't think this stuck the landing, but apparently Kevin Clark tried to write all of Lady Painforth's dialogue in iambic pentameter. I don't think he succeeded.
No, he really didn't. And
I don't know why he would have tried. But
no, I think the only
we'll see.
The only show that's coming to mind when I hear like iambic pentameter being done in a non-Shakespearean setting and doing it really well was Deadwood, because I was sitting there watching this like thing with cowboys and I'm going, my God, the dialogue here is Shakespearean.
Yeah. To ensure that part 1 of the serial was broadcast on the exact day of Doctor Who's 25th anniversary, a couple of things had to happen. So first of all, the season was naturally delayed for a week. That was a natural delay because of the Summer Olympics. And then the order was swapped for The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, which we'll discuss next week, and The Happiness Patrol, which we discussed last time. So this change resulted in the creation of a couple of continuity errors, including Ace already wearing a brooch that she didn't get until Greatest Show in the Galaxy. And Ace looking for her rucksack at the beginning of the Greatest Show in the Galaxy, even though she clearly threw it into a ship to blow it up in this episode. There's a couple of things there that didn't work. It was Jonathan Turner who suggested that the Cybermen were the natural villains to appear in a Silver Anniversary adventure. Kevin Clark had hoped to use the Daleks, but obviously they were used in Remembrance earlier in the season. Lady Painfort's name came from the 17th century torture Painfort et dur, I can't pronounce that properly, which literally translates as long and hard trauma, in which increasingly heavy weights are placed upon the body. That's where he got her name from. The idea of the Nemesis statue came from Hitler's obsession with the Spear of Destiny. This is the legendary lance in the Bible, said to have had pierced the side of Jesus during the crucifixion, which was reputed to grow great powers upon its bearer. And this is apparently what led to the neo-Nazi plot in this.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm sure we'll talk about this later on and how well that did. We mentioned sort of jokingly the boombox fucking thing that the Doctor made for Ace. Obviously, that was meant to be a boombox. It wasn't meant to be a boombox scanner transmitter thing. It's just because they didn't want to film inside the TARDIS. Because they wanted to have this be entirely on location. So they just had it be a portable thing that they could carry around with them so that they didn't have to do it on the set.
Not Soundwave the Transformer.
Yeah. The pre-production of this was complicated by a number of other things. The main one that we'll discuss next week is there was asbestos discovered at BBC Television Centre. So that meant that the recording dates for The Greatest Show in the Galaxy had to be adjusted, meaning that Sylvester and Sophie didn't really have a lot of rehearsal time for this story. And in fact, Dolores Gray became so confused because she assumed that the assistant floor manager, Lynn Grant, was playing Ace, because Lynn had been reading Ace's lines while Sophie was otherwise occupied. Filming went over schedule, causing some shots to be abandoned while others were rewritten on the spot. For instance, when the extras playing the Cybermen's servitors were unavailable, Chris Clough was left with no choice but to record some of the scenes in which they were intended to appear without them. There was originally meant to be a communications Cyberman, reminiscent of the Cyber Director. However, there were concerns this would be too similar to the Special Weapons Dalek, and so that wasn't done. In the original script, the Doctor and Ace come across a statue of Ace rather than a painting. So a couple of things in terms of people being unwell. So Sylvester McCoy was unable to perform the fall into the river as he'd come down with the flu. And so he had to be doubled. Sophie did do the stunt herself, though. Sophie did, I think, in her entire run in Doctor Who, I think Sophie did all but 2 stunts herself. But yeah, so she did this one. And then Anton Drifling was unwell during the production, and so he didn't wear a tie as part of his costume to sort of keep him feeling less constrained. He also had to have emergency oxygen on standby. So yeah, let's go into talking about our cast, right? So as Lady Painfort, we have Fiona Walker. This is the second and final Doctor Who acting credit for Fiona. We previously saw her all the way back in The Keys of Marinus. So she went from season 1 to season 25.
Oh, wow.
Where she played Kala. Her non-Who credits include Far From the Madding Crowd, Bleak House, Emma, and Medics. Richard Maynard, just Richard, is played by Gerard Murphy, or Gerard Murphy, not quite sure how he pronounces that. This is his only Doctor Who acting credit. His non-Who credits include Z-Cars, The Devil's Crown, Minder, Taggart, and Batman Begins. Gerard passed away in 2013.
He's also
as DeForest.
He's also in Father Ted. He's the pilot in the plane episode.
Oh yeah. DeFlores, as we said, is played by Anton Drifling. Only Doctor Who acting credit for Anton. His non-Who credits include Escape to Victory, Operation Daybreak, Fahrenheit 451, The Heroes of Telemark, and Paddy. What else was he in?
Where Eagles Dare.
Yes.
It's awesome. I'm like, someday when we get to hang out in person, we are watching that movie. I've been saying it for years. We have to watch it. Also, for Escape to Victory, he was dubbed over.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dubbed over in
English? In English. So he plays... So Escape to Victory is where the German national team take on a team made up of various allied prisoners of war. And they were all played by actual real footballers. So they taught them how to act. And he is the German commentator and yeah, he's dubbed. So
Why hire someone to be a commentator and then dub over them?
Maybe they felt that his accent might have been a bit too strong. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was his last acting credit before, as I mentioned, he passed away in 1989. Carl is played by, I'm going to get his name wrong, Metin Yenal? Yenal? I'm going to go with Yenal. This is his only Doctor Who acting credit. His non-Who credits include Poirot, Swing Kids, Grange Hill, and Minder. Lastly, as Mrs. Remington, we have Dolores Gray. This is the only Doctor Who acting credit for Dolores. Her non-Who credits include The Opposite Sex, Kismet, It's Always Fair Weather. This was also her last television acting credit before she passed away in 2002. There's actually another interesting piece of trivia about Dolores that I deliberately skipped over so that I could come back to it later on, and now I have to scroll back up and try and find it. Damn. Why did I do this to myself? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so she was very upset at one point when she realised that she'd left a bag on the London street where she had been collected, and that bag contained some really expensive jewellery. However, it's fine. The bag and jewels were found and couriered to her at Arundel Castle, where the episode is filmed. Obviously, goes without saying, like I said, the Crown said no to using Windsor Castle, so they filmed at Arundel Castle instead. Yeah. Obviously. But yeah, thus endeth the trivia.
Thank you kindly. So then, that is the trivia done. Thank you very much. We now come on to the character discussion part, where myself and Trish will discuss all the major players. So that is the Doctor, the Companion, who is Ace in this instance. Mm-hmm. We don't really have any prominent characters. It's mostly just villains of a shade.
I think if I was to put a prominent character, it would be Richard.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, we can have him as a prominent character. And then villains of De Flores, Lady Panford, and the Cybermen. We won't be discussing Carl because he's just pretty much a dog's body. And Mrs. Remington, who is one of John Nathan Turner's stunt casts. We won't be discussing her. Maybe in the overall, but as a character, no. So the rule is they who did the socials get to go first. That be you. So tell me.
It does be me.
What do you think of the Doctor in this story?
I like the Doctor in this story. I think it's a natural, even though Happiness Patrol was meant to come after this, I do think it is a natural sort of progression of him from Remembrance through Happiness Patrol to now. It is another story, though, of the Doctor at some point we haven't seen hiding things from his enemies with the intention of drawing them in to get rid of them. And I don't know why. I think like when I first watched these, maybe I just didn't watch them back to back or whatever. But I didn't clock that he does it twice in the same season.
See, like in this season, it's kind of obfuscated because, well, like maybe not so much because in Remembrance, it was like he was banking on the Daleks following him, but didn't realize there was two factions. Here, he's banking on Lady Penford following him, but not realizing that Cybermen and fucking Nazis of all things are also getting
no, but I think he knew the Cybermen were going to be there because I think the whole point was he put it in orbit to draw in the Cybermen.
Okay.
So he did the same thing twice.
Okay.
Which I think is just poor writing, and I would put a lot of that on Andrew Cartmel and John Nathan Turner.
Yeah.
Because like it feels now like it's a build up to something. I don't think we're really going to get. Because we have this whole thing now of, but who is he? This suddenly becomes a question after 25 fucking years. Suddenly this becomes a whole thing of, but who are you? And stuff like that. And it sort of sets up, I mean, it is a very new Who setup for a season where you have, in one story, the Doctor eliminates the Daleks, or all but eliminates the Daleks, and in another story, he all but eliminates the Cybermen, using ancient Gallifreyan technology to do both. And it feels like it's a run-up to something, and I don't know what that something is. But from the Doctor's point of view, it's interesting to watch him doing it again, but in a different way. Because this one is a lot more, because you have the Nazis thrown into the middle of it, it's a lot less, he seems a bit less organized than before. Also, he seems to have genuinely forgotten that this was his plan this time round.
Yeah.
Like Ace says it, like, but you got the sums wrong, which basically is the Doctor in a nutshell in this, which is that he had a plan, he forgot it, and he potentially got his maths wrong on when he wanted it to come to fruition. Later on, I do like the fact that he gave Ace a chance to go back to the TARDIS, because he really, like, you know, the scene with the guy who decoded the letter or whatever it is that Lady Painfort wanted, he clearly was conscious of the fact that, like, there are people dying and it's really scary, and I like the fact that he gave her the chance to go back to the TARDIS. That's underdone, though, by the fact that a few minutes later, he set a 16-year-old girl up against a squad of Cybermen by herself with nothing but a bag of gold coins and a slingshot. Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And so this is really one of those stories where we get to see how this version of the Doctor, he does genuinely care for Ace. And I do love all the scenes where, and they're little moments where, like, you know, he turns her face away if there's something sort of scary or gruesome happening, or, you know, he takes a moment to reassure her and to check in that she's okay. And I do love all that. But, you know, do you have any Nitro 9, Ace? No, of course I don't. Okay, go blow up the thing. Like, we do see a lot more in this story of him using her as his weapon of choice. We got a little bit of it in Remembrance. We didn't get any in Happiness Patrol, but we got a little bit of in Remembrance where he just handed her the gun. The anti-tank, or the anti...
Yeah, the anti-tank rifle.
The anti-tank rifle. But here it's a bit more obvious, because it's just a bit more prolonged in this story. We don't really see him interacting too much with the other characters, which is kind of a good thing in some sense. I like the fact that it's mostly him and Ace. But, like, his whole deal with Lady Painfort, I don't get it, because they don't fucking explain it, like, at all. Him and DeFlores aren't a thing. Like, those two are two completely different fucking stories as far as I'm concerned. They don't seem to particularly care about the other. There's no, like, Nazis bad thing or anything from the Doctor in it. And with the Cybermen, again, he doesn't really talk to them. Like, it's one of those stories where, like, there isn't really a whole lot to say about the dynamic between the Doctor and the villains, or the Doctor and the prominent characters. Like, he doesn't really interact with them all that much. He has maybe 2 conversations with both of them, and that's about it. I do like the sort of callback to the chess game, and him shouting chess directions at Ace when they're just playing keep away from the fucking Cybermen in a really small enclosed space. Like, just fucking shoot him in the head and take the fucking thing. But whatever. So I think from a storytelling point of view, I think the Doctor, I think he's fine in this one. There's a couple of little moments with Ace that I liked, but it is kind of just Remembrance all over again. And I would have liked to have seen more of him and Lady Painfort together specifically. And I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, I would like to see more of him versus the Cybermen, because it kind of felt a bit flat for me, the relationship between him and the Cybermen in this one. I don't know if you felt the same.
No. I really do. Like, do you have any?
No, I've nothing else to add.
Okay, no, because there was going to be say something there. It's gone from my head. But I think my first watch around, this is where I start to fall in love with Sylvester's Doctor,
Mm,
because I really I liked his performance up until now. Like,
mm,
first season is kind of hit or miss because of the more vaudeville type tone, the lighter tone of things. But then when it comes into these next two, this season and the next season, it's we now see the dark manipulator at play,
mm,
because this is the, and again it's the kind of, I suppose, the stick I'll use to beat the whole, the Doctor is like the unarmed hero argument with, is that this is a man who lives in the grey and shoulders the consequences of his actions with, relative ease.
mm,
Like, he doesn't seem to really care about the longest standing ramifications of what he does, because in his head, I'm doing the right thing.
mm,
Like, and it's his treatment of the statue, like of the Nemesis statue, like, is, the first time I watched it, I thought it was haunting, and it's still very haunting here, because it is his coldness towards it. Because, like, the statue is, in the brief moment that we have of the statue, it's a much better character than Chameleon ever was. um, and you actually do feel sorry for it, because it's like, um, he says, "Oh, once you're done, you will just go in waiting. Wait till, like, till I call for you again." But she says, "You may need me sooner than you think." He goes, "I'll be fine." And she, "Will I have my freedom? Not yet." And he just calls it still imperfect. That's cruel, and it's a long way away from, like, Stones of Blood, where he's, like, nearly mourning over the mangled body of K9.
It's an interesting point actually, because if you look at, and I completely missed it in my own notes, but if you look at the way it treats Nemesis here
Hmm.
versus the way it interacted for that brief scene with the Hand of Omega in Remembrance,
Yeah,
where it was much more like a little pet and a much
yeah,
more positive.
yeah,
Like, obviously it was one way, but it was
mm,
a much more positive interaction.
yeah.
But yeah, it is a bit cruel in this one
It,
actually.
yeah, like, I think it's very cruel, and we're not going to talk about it as a character in and of itself, but hats off to the creative design and the performance of the Nemesis statue,
Mm,
because her bit with the Doctor and her bit with Ace, I were, like, fantastic scenes, and unfortunately, they're fucking continually interrupted with stupid shit from the character of Remington. Like, oh, I'm gonna get fucking mad. But the other meat to this performance, as you say, like, absolutely, there's no real bones to his interaction with the Flores and his crew, or with the Cybermen. Lady Painfort is, it's, oh, like, oh, we know that something happened and it sounds really good, but are we going to touch upon it again? No, we're not. So the real meat of the performance comes down to his relationship and dynamic with Ace. Like, their bond and friendship is great, because it is so sweet to watch. Like, the bit where they're in the outdoor, or they're in the park and they're watching the jazz and they're having a great time. Or there's the bit where they're lying down in the hill, and he says, like, "Are we having fun?" And she's like, "Yeah." Um, I'd like to think that that's the sort of, like, an apology as well for Sylvester actually snapping at Sophie. They say, kind of like, "Are we good?" But then again, I don't know the time frame of the shooting. Um, but, like, watching their relationship is great,
mm,
but the continuing weaponization of Ace is very disconcerting, because there's the scene where, like, the fight breaks out between the Nazis and the Cybermen, and like I had to say, when I was doing the recap, "Oh, the Cybermen and DeFlores' troops," because if I said the Cybermen and Nazis, I was just going to start fucking laughing. It's just so weird. Um, but, like, he dives into the crater and he kind of leaves her behind, assuming like, it's not abandonment. It's just the assumption that she'll follow him. And
Mm.
she's like kind of Dr. Wait type of thing and goes in after him. So there's a line that's going to come up in a story later on down the line in 10's run.
Mm.
And I think you know what I'm getting at here. But it's like, yeah, take a look at what you're doing to the people around you. Because he goes on, as I said, and he's like kind of traveling the universe and he's going around with people. But he's turning this 16-year-old girl into a walking weapon. And she is, and we talked about it before from Dragonfire, like she's someone that doesn't feel at home with where she was and she's looking for the great adventure, all that kind of stuff. So she's seeing, like, when we move on to Ace now in a second, but like she's seeing the adventure side of things, but she's not seeing what it's actually doing to her type thing.
Mm.
And I think like this, like Dark 7 is the thing, and I really enjoy Dark 7, but at the same time, it's very worrying that I like Dark 7 because he's not great, you know? But yeah. So no, like I again, this was the story that I was like, yeah, 7's really good. 7's interesting. 7's on my piece in my upper half at the time. Yeah, so will he stay there after our more critical review of his entire run? We shall see. But moving on to Ace, I suppose.
So one of the things I really liked about Ace in this is that I think out of all of them, and we got a little bit of this in Remembrance, but not as much because your man was being creepy and weird. I think out of all of them, this is the one where we actually get to see Ace's age.
Mm-hmm.
So we see it in her music, but also in her general presence. And there's something very interesting that depending on what way they have Sophie's hair, she looks a lot younger than she is. Because Sophie wasn't 16 at the time. She was like 24, 25 or something.
Yeah.
So she looks a lot younger depending on what way they do her hair. But also we see her looking scared. Like you said, like they're in this fucking crater and there's weapons fire going off overhead. And she's clearly freaked out. Like she's clearly freaked out. We see her reaction to that poor guy back in the 1600s who died.
Mm-hmm.
But she actually says it. I said, look, I'm not one to run away from things, and I'm generally quite brave, but I'm terrified.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really scared. But she still continues through with it. I think part of it is FOMO, to be honest. But part of it is also the fact that she can't let the doctor by himself. Like she won't back down. She will give 100%. Which is the problem. To your point, you have this 16-year-old girl who, she created Nitro 9 herself. He didn't make her create that. The fact that she keeps fucking making it and keeping it in her bag and claiming that I'm a good girl, I do what I'm told.
Yeah.
Is fucking pull another one. So it's not like she wasn't pre-inclined to that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between her building explosives for the fucking fun of it and her being told to chuck her bag in a ship and blow up sentient beings. Mm-hmm. And we see it particularly when she realizes that the two guys who were sort of like mid-transformation or whatever, the two guys that were being controlled, when she realizes that they were killed because of what she did. Mm-hmm. It was fine when it was the faceless Cybermen.
Yeah.
But when it was humans, you can suddenly see it's catching up with her, which I really like. I also agree with you. I liked her interaction with Nemesis. I thought that was really good. Mm-hmm. Again, it was an interesting thing. Her going up against Cybermen with nothing but a bag of coins and a slingshot. I mean, Doctor, you are so lucky that she's good at what she does. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise Ace would be dead and it would be all his fault because what the hell. The one thing I found kind of funny was the bit at the end where they're listening to the music and whatever, and she goes like, "Professor," and then she's like, "There's one question you haven't answered," and then she goes right quiet. She's like, "Doctor, who are you?" And all I can hear every time I watch that scene is Sophie plays it lovely, right? But it is ruined by the film Casper, because all I hear is "Cat, can I keep you?" in that Casper voice. Whatever way Sophie reads that line, all I hear is "Can I keep you?" from the film Casper. And it doesn't quite have the same impact as it should. But I like the fact that we get to see her questioning the Doctor. It's not just the fact that, like, Lady Painfort was a psycho, so she ignored everything she said. Like, Ace is picking up on things, which is good. And then to your point, I really liked, the scenes of the two of them together. I liked them at the start listening to the jazz. I liked them when they were sending off the signal and the two of them lying in the grass, and she's wearing his hat. I always love when she wears his hat. It's so adorable. I like all that. So I think Ace was actually probably my favorite character in this story. I think Sophie played it really well, and it's really nice to see Ace being a 16-year-old in a horrible situation and actually seeing her have somewhat realistic reactions to things rather than just all bravado all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Yeah.
But what about you?
No, just your point there about at the end, like it's spoiled for you by the whole Casper thing. I think it's like she's wearing sunglasses, and she takes them off and she goes, "Doctor, who are you?" And all that just comes into my head is like CSI, just like yeah. I know that's two different songs because that's for CSI Vegas and the sunglasses CSI Miami. But it's still, that's just what came into my head. Ace is great in this story, and she absolutely is. Like this is a fucking belter of a performance, because the bits where they're just relaxing they're genuinely sweet to watch. Like just really kind of nice. You kind of aw, and they fully represent what a friendship between the Doctor and his companion should be, because she genuinely loves doing the stuff that he does, like getting into listening to jazz, playing chess, taking on new interests, and seeing the wider universe. Meanwhile, still being completely oblivious to all the world around you while you're obsessed with Charlton Athletics' performance in Division 1, I think, maybe at the time. I'm not quite sure. But the action sequences here is amazing in. And hats off to Chris Clough for his direction here, especially the scene in the warehouse at the end, where she's like in the hit and run fight. Because that's so well shot. It really is. And Sophie doing the majority of her stunts for it just lends a level of authenticity to it.
An interesting thing about that is, so when they're up in the scaffolding, Sophie's terrified of heights, and they didn't have any safety harnesses on her.
Jesus Christ.
So when she was going through that, she was absolutely shitting herself.
Fuck it, fair. Like it really led somewhat authentically to the scene, I'd say that much. But like that bit where she's like up top and she's cornered, and he's like, "You got one shot left," and she's going to be like, "Yeah, well, who's going to be the lucky one?" And like I thought it was brilliant. Like some people might say, "Oh, she ducks and they shoot each other in cliche." In this case, no, it's actually really clever because they're all shooting in the same direction. So obviously, if she ducks, that's what happens. But to your point, and to what I said earlier on, is while it's amazing to see Ace be like awesome and like really take charge and be a bit of a badass, she shouldn't have to be in that position in the first place.
No.
Like she really shouldn't, because like I agree with you. It's like it's for all actresses and actors as well. Like depending on how we've got their hair, like it can really de-age them or age them up or whatever. But she reminds us in the story that she's still very young, and like it's very easy to be frightened of the magnitude of what's going on. You know, like
Mm.
I remember there was a time where you and I were playing in a TTRPG where it was like us real world people were brought into a fantasy setting.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people in the group were like going, oh yeah, this is awesome, cool, I have all this magic. Meanwhile, I think you and me, being the more kind of like, we're playing very practical levels, people kind of going, what the fuck are we doing here? How do we get back? It was like you were living all the grand adventure, like going, no, fuck that, what the hell are we doing? No, we acclimatized and we actually became pretty fucking cool. And I think we were the longest serving people in that fucking thing. But at the same time, it was like, it's the idea of the adventure is great until the adventure actually hits and it's, oh shit, this is terrifying. And Sophie does have that, or Ace does have that moment here where she's like, look, I'm never one to back down, but I'm genuinely frightened. And then maybe she feels that she's letting herself down or letting him down when he says, oh, I'm sorry, I'll just go back to the TARDIS. And she's like, no, like I'm Ace, I'm tough as nails type thing, you know? Her bit with the statue I liked because it's the whole like, am I not beautiful? And you really are. And she goes, well, if you saw other versions of me, you wouldn't think so. That's kind of creepy. It's also kind of very reminiscent of stuff that we'll talk about later on with regeneration cycles, like but and the bit where she's at the end, like I know that we kind of talked about it for laughs there, but where she's genuinely like, what are you hiding from me, Doctor? Why won't you tell me who you really are? And again, it's the young person who now has this best friend and they want to like kind of know everything about them. And it's like, why aren't you being upfront with me? I just think it's a fantastic job by Sophie from start to finish in this story.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is probably her best performance so far, maybe. I don't know. Like, we'll see, obviously, when we do her rambling, but this is definitely up there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this goes on right. I think Sophie does better when she's not confined by a set.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she seems more comfortable.
Yeah. I think the set is a bit sort of oppressive on her.
Which is odd because she was mainly a theatre actress before this, wasn't she?
Yeah, but I think, I don't know, maybe something like I don't know what it is, but I don't know, she seems to flourish a bit more when they're on location and stuff like that. I don't know, it's just an observation.
Actually, one bit I forgot there that I loved was the bit where they're in the warehouse and the doctor says, no more explosions. And she's like going, I'm a better person for it, Doctor. I really like that part. Cool. Prominent character?
Yes. Fuck me. Okay. You said Mrs. Remington is a character you hate. And I'm sure we'll talk about her in the overall and what, if any, purpose she had other than J&T doing Stormcasting, right?
Yeah.
Richard is the worst part of this story by a fucking country mile. Right?
All right.
He is so fucking annoying. Because all he is this fucking simp for Lady Painfort, right? But he's a total coward. He's like a badly written panto Robin Hood. Do you know, like, the other way, someone who sees the Robin Hood ideal or whatever, and then it's like, he's not even bravely bold Sir Robin from fucking Monty Python. It's not even that, because he at least pretends to be brave. He's just such a waste of a script. Like, he really is. Like, at one point, in the middle of a battle, he's just kneeling down, praying. We're praying in kind of a Homer Simpson kind of way of, I'll put the dog out every night and I'll mow my friend's grass and like just listing all this random shit.
I'll give Brooks back his bunny.
Yeah, I'll pay your man. And they're like, what the fuck? And like constantly begging to go home and whatever. And like, oh, he's just so fucking irritating. There's the bit where he throws it all away to save Lady Painfort, right?
Yeah.
And she has this, oh my god, I treat you like shit and you saved me. And I'm like, yeah, because he's a fucking simp. Like, Oh my god! Like, oh my god, he was literally the worst part. And no offense to that actor, but he could not deliver those lines to fucking save his life.
Hmm.
It literally was the most pantomime fucking performance.
Oh, like I love him in Father Ted, but it is a very over the top performance. And I think this is like the fourth thing I've seen him in. Like I saw him in
Yeah.
Batman Begins, and he was also in Waterworld. But he's not a great actor. Like he's
But also, like, he's clearly part of Lady Painforth's plan,
Hmm.
and we'll get into that when we talk about her. But like, at the end, the Doctor and Ace just sit in his garden, which he's now inherited,
Yeah,
and listen to him and his wife, his daughter, his maid, his
someone.
whore, whoever the fuck she is, playing some music for them. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? You could have removed him from the story and it would be 90% the same and 25% better. Because, oh no, I fucking, no. 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 Go on. What did you think of him?
I kind of liked him.
Oh god.
No, all right. I know. I do think he needs to be in the story because if you're bringing Painfort into the future, she needs to have Dog's body, her gal Friday, whatever. She needs to have someone. There's okay. There is too much wasted shite in this story.
Mm.
Mrs. Remington, which again is no Dolores Gray, is from what I understand like a big name in theater. Like she's like a multiple Tony winner and nominee, big fucking thing. Cool. Why the fuck is she in this story? She serves no purpose whatsoever. They could have just bummed the lift off any fucking Joe Soap. They could have bummed the lift off like Farmer Tom, whatever the case is. Didn't need to be a fucking thing. So there's that. Then there is unnecessary stuff with the Nazis. I'd nearly even say get rid of them fucking altogether because they serve no purpose in this story. And then like there's other parts there, which is there's way too much sort of out of timers where there's like
Mm.
going, there's people at the bus stop. Oh my god, they're terrifying. The two thugs that kind of cornered them, like that felt very keep up appearances, when the two
Mm.
lads are heckling fucking the guys on the golf course. But the thing about that is okay, why didn't you just kill them? Like you had no problem like fucking murdering the mathematician. I say that word, I sound like it always sounds wrong in my head. Mathematician, it just
That's because you say all of the syllables individually.
oh yeah, because it's really go mathematician. And I go mathematician.
Mathematician.
Yeah, yeah. Leave me alone. But like, yeah, so like, there's just like an awful lot of fucking wasted shit here that again could have done a bit more to the relationship with Richard. As the case of okay, cool, she does treat you like shit, but there are times there where you seem kind of really all in on what she's doing, and it's like your explanation as to why you kind of put up with everything and why you're so loyal to her is kind of like hand waved away. It's like you're written kind of like Smithers from The Simpsons, but done really, really poorly. Um, yeah, so like it's weird. I don't like. Is he really underutilized and badly done? Oh yeah, absolutely. But I don't hate him. I think I find it funny more than anything. Like the bit in the battlefield where it's just like she's like, haha, take this, you fucking, knave, like shooting arrows into Cybermen. Very just casually, so she's shooting at I was gonna say a pheasant. She probably did shoot peasants as well, and he's there on his knees going, "Dear Lord, please, I'll give him back his body. Just send me home again." Um, but yeah, I think a part of his loyalty is kind of endearing, but then it doesn't. Please don't let it distract you from the fact that he fucking murders people for her, and at the end, yeah, it's very sort of like, oh, the doctor's like, cool. Thanks for saving us. And technically, you're a wanted criminal, and you should be hung in your time. But play some loot for us, and we're all good. All good, cool. bring on the loot, baby. So yeah. Yeah, so I think we're going to disagree on him because I just find him funny more than anything. Let
Yeah,
me take
I think
let me take enjoyment from this story where I can. Okay.
I think I'll talk about him more in my overall.
Yeah.
Because I disagree with you on the Mrs. Remington thing. So
Okay.
I think we'll touch on that more in the overall. If I don't, because I tend to say, I'll talk about this in the overall, and then I forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm saying to you now, when I tell you I'm going to talk about this in the overall, if I then don't mention it in the overall, you need to fucking remind me.
Well, no, I probably have mentions of Remington in my overall, so you should be triggered.
Okay, let's go on to our villains. So we've Lady Painford, DeFlores, and the Cybermen. I would nearly do DeFlores first.
Yep.
Then Lady Painford and the Cybermen are kind of interchangeable, for me anyway.
I would have done DeFlores, then probably Cyberman, and then probably Painford.
Yeah, okay, we can do that. So for DeFlores, for a guy who had no fucking clue what he was doing or what he was in, his performance was quite good. But I don't know what he was doing in the story. I completely agree with you there. Why the fuck were the Nazis in it? Other than perpetuating this really bad South American stereotype.
Yeah, where they all fled there to escape persecution.
So, like, it's like you have a story based in South America or with characters from South America. They're either drug runners or Nazis. Yeah. And you're like, for fuck's sake. I do think it was a bit too sort of Indiana Jones-esque. I think it would have worked fine if the Cybermen, like, you have 3 villains, or 3 villain groups. Get rid of one of them. DeFlores on his own would have been fine without the Cybermen. Nazis and Cybermen in the same sentence is just fucking weird. Right? Which is why you couldn't say it in your recap. It's just fucking weird. I think of the 3, he was the least interesting. The Nazi subplot was the least interesting to watch. It was the least explained of 3 really poorly explained villain arcs. His was the least explained. How the fuck did he find out about it? How does he know what it does? What does he plan to do with it other than the Fourth Reich? Okay. Like, it is a waste of story to have him there. Because guess what? If you want to have Nazis in a story, you pair them with Daleks. You do not pair them with Cybermen. Daleks, racial purity. Cybermen, everyone and anyone can be turned into a Cyberman.
Yeah.
Which of those 2 do Nazi methodologies align more closely with? So I think DeFlores, I mean, again, fantastic performance by your man. He clearly no fucking clue what he was doing. Fucking brilliant. I don't get it though. Like, I've watched this story over the last, 4 weeks. I've watched the story twice. Because I watched it and then I realized that we weren't able to record last week. So I watched it again. Literally, I finished watching it like 5 minutes before you messaged me. So I've watched it twice, and I watched it behind the sofa at the same time. I still don't know what the fuck he was doing there. He had the bow. Okay, where'd he get it? What does he think it does? How does it? Did he get it from Hitler? Did Hitler give it to him as a present? We don't fucking know, and I don't think he's explored enough.
No.
And I think he's just a waste of screen time. If you're not going to explain it and give Nazis in England in the 80s trying to get this world domineering power, if you're not going to give that weight, just don't bother.
Yeah.
In my opinion. How about you? What do you think of him?
Oh, yeah, there's a bit there where Carl like mentions the fact about because the floor says, "Oh, Lady Painford had the bow at one point." Oh no, this is Lady Painford's home, and then Carl goes, "Hey, there's a lady that kind of looks like she's from that time period around here," and then he tells Carl to shut up. I'm like, dude, you're 1980s Nazis fighting cyborgs from the future, or just cyborgs. What's so outlandish about someone from the past shooting at you with a bow and arrow?
Also, what do they know about her?
So,
I don't get it.
Okay, so this is the thing: is that Lady Painford, I'd say at this stage, is one of those fucking Gilles de Rais, Bluebeard, famous characters from that time period, which was like, oh, they're into the occult and all this kind of stuff. And obviously we know that Hitler like had interest in like the occult with the Tool Society and all that kind of jazz. So again, as you say, very Indiana Jones. So I'd say any European or any kind of notorious European character with any sort of tenuous link to the occult or alchemy or anything like that probably would be in the archives. And he had said that he was a confidant of Hitler when it came to this type of thing. So that's where I kind of understood that to come from. But I agree with you, Des, that they're completely fucking wasted here. So Anton Dufresne he's a great actor. He really is. But he's absolutely wasted here in a very generic, hey, let's get the Reich back together type of story. And like the only thing that I liked from it was the fact that it kind of made me want to know more about was it their Ring Das Nibelung, like the thing that like Ride the Valkyries is from. Like I just want to know more about that. So cheers. But like it's so bad because like the way that he looks and also the look of his men kind of reminds me of the Nazi characters from the Blues Brothers. And that's all that was going through my head here was like, I cannot wait for someone to break out into a version of Respect by Aretha Franklin. So yeah, they serve no purpose other than to have a decent enough gunfight with the Cybermen. Like I thought that was another good action sequence done by Clough. But they're really badly done. And like I know that like we're a couple of years out from the Wolfenstein video game becoming a thing, and then obviously we're a long time from Hellboy, so it's very difficult to kind of do the cross comparison. But there is the genuine interest of like the more sinister occultish side of the Nazis that can be explored very well, and Doctor Who, I would say, is a very good setting for it. It's either do it by themselves or get rid of them in favor of the Cybermen. Don't put the two of them in together. Absolutely agree with you. Because the big problem is that the Cybermen aren't from the future in this story. They're just around. And if you want to do like various factions from different points in time, they need to come from past, present, and future. You can't have past, present, and alien present. Because then it's like, well, then home present is just going to be completely overpowered. So there's no point.
Yeah, I agree with you. Going on to the Cybermen, is it just me, or are they very talky in this episode? And talky in a much more casual way. Like one of them has a definitively Scottish accent at one point.
Yes.
And I'm like, I agree with the comment I made during trivia that the writer of this story has no idea who and what the Cybermen are.
Yeah.
Because Cybermen having human slaves, essentially, fine. I mean, it did actually remind me of the Dalek invasion of Earth, more so than anything else.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're so talkative, even to each other, and it's very much, but Carl, why are we doing this? Because I said so, Fred. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Like, why are they having super casual conversations? Also, their fingers are like creepily long, which is why I said I'm glad we don't get this version anymore. Like they're ridiculously long. I know they're gloves, but like they're really creepy and not at all good. But like the interesting thing in terms of why they don't work in the story, just because they're silver, like really, that's ridiculous. I really hate, and I completely agree. I think the whole gold thing was really badly handled in this story. Cybermen are weak to gold because the gold particles get into their breathing apparatus.
Yeah.
This is what we learned in Revenge of the Cybermen. How does flinging a fucking coin at them make them explode? The arrow, I can understand a little bit more but it shouldn't have been instantaneous.
Mm.
The idea that you could throw some gold dust at them and they just go, "Ugh," and pass out, or their chest plate explodes, doesn't make any fucking sense.
Mm.
If you had fine particles and you put it into their chest apparatus and then you have them kind of choking on it and slowly dying, that's fine. I mean, those gold tip things were meant to have poison on them. What the fuck did the poison do? No one knows. But it's the coins. It's the coins.
Mm.
You hit the thing with the coin and it just explodes. Like, where the fuck is the logic? And again, I'd say something if they had like a vented opening and she was shooting them through the vents and they were acting like a poison inside the suit. But like, you know, the Cybermen aren't celiacs who see gluten and have a reaction. Like that's not who they are. And I agree, I think it really diminished them in this story. Like I know like there's a whole thing about like glitter guns and stuff like that and whatever. But the principle behind there is fine gold particles that can get into a breathing apparatus. It's not chucking a fucking euro at them and seeing what happens. Like, what the shit? In terms of the storyline proper, again, I think this is Remembrance 2.0. I think them detecting the Nemesis, them having some idea of its power and the fact that it can be controlled and it can be targeted or whatever, that's all fine. How the fuck do they know who Painfort is? Going back to your thing of Painfort is like some sort of urban legend fucking mythological person. How the fuck do the Cybermen know who she is?
Yeah, that's taking it too far now.
Because I understand you're explaining for De Flores. My issue with it is that would make sense if she was a real person that the audience could also clue into, but she's a made-up person. You need to explain the made-up person if you're going to have everyone know who she is. You need to give her a bit more something for people to know who she is. But how the Cybermen know, and why the fuck do they care? And why do they know about an arrow and a bow, and like, how do they know the history of this thing, as opposed to being, it's a power source, it's incomplete, there are 2 more pieces that need to be added, there is 1 piece over here, and one, like, the fact that they know that it's a bow and an arrow and a statue, and like, you know too much. And how the fuck do you know that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Also, there is zero subtlety about these Cybermen. They go flying around in their ship, no fucking cloak on once they're on planet. No cloak, no nothing. Also, have none of these people heard of music? You're telling me the planets that these guys came from, not a single one of them had music? Because they're like, what the fuck is this noise? I'm like, it's clearly music. It's clearly music. Why are you fucking surprised? Also, why aren't you blocking it, you dumb shit? Like, this thing ran to the end of the tape. So it ran for about 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And that's assuming that the machine automatically flipped the tape halfway through, because otherwise it only ran for 45 minutes. But this thing ran for like 90 minutes. And you just sat and waited for it to naturally stop. Yeah. So yeah, I think the Cybermen don't belong in the story unless the story was meant to be about Cybermen, which it wasn't. They were, let's put in an iconic villain, not give them enough screen time, not give them enough background, and not give them the gravitas. Because like, if you compare these Cybermen to the Daleks in Remembrance, the Daleks in Remembrance were fucking kick-ass. These Cybermen, like, I know, like, it only takes 1 Dalek to destroy, whatever. But, like, the Cybermen are meant to be fucking terrifying. These guys have guns, and that's about it.
I think it's kind of summed up in the bit where Richard fires a golden arrow out at them, and it hits the ground, and they walk up to it, and one guy goes, "Gold," and they all just run away. It's just like, again, like very Monty Python, like, you run away. Lads, you're really shite at keep away. Like, it's like, give us the bow. Come on, give it. Stop. As the Doctor and Ace are just kind of like, you're pushing it back and forth between each other.
At least fucking raise your arms, for fuck's sake.
Like, there's nothing really interesting about them here. There's nothing new. There's no new lore, no new. I agree. Like, the visual version of them sucks. It's just another attempt to gain power, and it's nothing that we haven't seen before, except maybe a hatred of jazz, because they don't seem to like jazz in this one. But this has, like, you talked there earlier about, like, the writer not really understanding what Cybermen are. I've been thinking back. I would say, like, I'm trying to cast my mind back to Revenge, but the Cybermen haven't really been done well since the black and white era.
I agree.
Since they were actually Cybermen.
I agree.
There's way too much emotion. There's way too much back and forth, in terms of, like, bantering here. Like, there's no logic. There's no cold lack of emotion. There's not, like, think back, like, everyone kind of, not everyone, like, but do you remember the way that sometimes people would rag on, like, the very first appearance of the Cybermen in 10th Planet, with the big, like, kind of fucking popcorn blender headpiece and, like, the headlamp and the huge chess pieces. But think how fucking creepy they were when that voice came out of that mouth that wasn't moving. And then if you, like, flash forward into fucking Patrick's run with Moonbase and Tomb of the Cybermen, like, think how fucking creepy they were. They're embarrassing here. I don't like using that word, like, about, like, too much, but it is very embarrassing here.
Yeah,
that this is what the Cybermen are.
I agree with you. I generally don't think they have been done properly since the black and white era. I think, we'll get to it in time. I think Modern Who has done something to bring that back.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Particularly during Tennant's era, I think they did a lot to bring that back. But, like, in Revenge, Revenge was a bit meh, but they were at least, there was some level of logic, and the gold thing was explained, and they had a logical reason for why they wanted to destroy this planet, because the fucking gold, fuck off. That makes sense, but, like, the way they are here is just, it's comical.
Yeah, like, it is. Like, it is it's almost like a parody. It's almost like a parody of Doctor Who. I know, I agree. Like, with, like, the Future Run did one thing very smart. They're all voiced by the one fucking person. They're all voiced by Nick Briggs. Whereas here, it's like, there's no voice modulation. Like, well, there's a voice modulation to kind of make them sound a bit more, like, robot-y. But
the actors don't do anything.
Yeah, like, the emotion, the kids, the whole thing is fucking bleeding through, whereas it really shouldn't. So yeah, like, you've got this is the 25th anniversary story. You've 25 years, or fucking, sorry, in this case, 22 years worth of fucking material to pull from. This is fucking shameful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lady Painfort.
Yes.
Lady fucking Painful. I might be giving away spoilers for my overall thoughts on the story, by the way. Who the fuck is she? And why do I care? Neither of these two things are answered. I get that the Doctor went there at an undisclosed time while he was Sylvester, because she doesn't seem surprised that he fucking looks different.
Yep.
She somehow got all these secrets out of him. She won't tell us what they are, but she knows them. And she created a statue that looked like herself out of this living metal. And she wants to get it back. because something stuff. And I'm just sat there going, what the ever living hell? Like, her performance is annoying, no offense to your one, right? Her performance is irritating. But also, she's just crazy. She is just crazy. And I wanted to see more of her versus the Doctor. I wanted to see more of her trying to poison the well with Ace. Because Ace makes a good point. She knows the Doctor's a Time Lord. She knows he's from Gallifrey. She knows he travels around. What the fuck doesn't she know? And I think that Ace is a little bit harsh on the Doctor at the end because, like, he hasn't hidden anything from her that we know of, that we, the audience, know of. So I would like to have seen Lady Painful talk to her a bit more, to drop more of these doubts in her head, to justify the Doctor, who are you bit at the end. I mean, the Doctor Who drop was just fucking, I mean, that's J&T fucking all over it. And again, I don't get what she was trying to achieve. I get what the Cybermen were trying to achieve. I get what the Nazis were trying to achieve. I don't get what she was trying to achieve. Because why would she want to take over the future? I don't get it. And I feel like she doesn't care about her own bones either. Like, did she plan to join with the statue? Was that her plan? Because, like, when she runs into it, it's very funny, by the way, for those of you listening, it's very funny the way that was filmed.
Yeah.
Because she just kind of goes, ah! She sort of runs around in a little circle and then falls in. But yeah, I think either drop the other two, as in the Flores and the Cybermen, and flesh her out properly. Give us the backstory of who the fuck she is. Or drop the Cybermen and have her and De Flores and have them actually meet and him actually talk to her and know her. And her be maybe a little like, oh, you know who I am. Oh, great, whatever. Because otherwise she's just irritating. And again, the whole sort of out of time thing. I mean, I love a badass, right? I love a badass female character, but like, she's just weird. And again, I'll touch it again. Rob, I think one of the reasons why I liked the Mrs. Remington part of it is because it shows this other side of Lady Painfort a little bit. Because we see how she's at Richard and we see that she wants power. But like, it sort of shows what she was like just as a person. The fact that like she's like, oh, like, I'm descended from these people. Like, oh, they were assholes. Yeah. One of them stole my maid or some fucking shit. Like, do you know what I mean? She's just a petty bitch.
Yeah. Who poisoned that woman as well, by the way. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? She's just a petty bitch.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that scene because it didn't have anything to do with the big stakes. So obviously, the big stakes, she's evil. But even on small stakes, she's just a petty bitch. But I think her going crazy is a bit weird. I remember the first time I watched this, and it came up again when I watched it again because I forgot about it. I was slightly worried that she would sort of suddenly have like romantic feelings for Richard.
No.
When she's like, oh, but I treat you like shit. I'm like, yeah, like, I mean, she clearly knows that he gets off on her being domineering and whatever, and that's his kink, and that's fine. You do you, mate. But like, I was slightly concerned. She's like, oh, but like, you did all that to save my life. I'm like, he threw away your entire plan to save your life. Why are you not beating him around the head? Yeah. Because you would have done 5 minutes ago. Please don't tell me you're going to kiss him, because that's just painful to watch. So yeah, I think as a villain, I think she had the most potential. But I don't think they delivered on that either. How about you?
Yeah, like, I agree. Like, I liked her, but I think it's more so I liked her because she's the best of the bad bunch. Gonna say something now. I'd like to get your opinion on it. I would have been very curious to see this character played by Linda Barron, the one that played Rack from Enlightenment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she maybe would have given it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bit at the end, like the real just kind of like snap of insanity, very Daenerys from End of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Just came out of fucking nowhere. Like, there's no real slowly descent into mania. I agree. Cut out one of the other guys. Like, absolutely, cut out the Cybermen for fuck's sake. Like, they do nothing. They really, really don't. They stick. It's and like also there's a really fucking bad analogy to, like I said during that Sneebelung. Like, it's fucking stupid. Just have it be the Nazis and write them better. But like, I know I'm curious. I like the idea of characters from Elizabethan times that are like like evil scientists, and like the marriage of like magic, quote unquote, magic and science together. And I like the idea of them actually being a worthy opponent of the Doctor, and then being brought into the future where, yeah, it's like, okay, they're fish out of water, but they're still fucking evil to the core, and they're still a threat. Her knowing about the Doctor, I think it would have been very interesting to see if this was someone that the Doctor had once thought of as being as a potential companion and betrayed him. Like, sort of learned the secrets and then kind of almost gargoyles in a way, like Damon and Macbeth. Like, it could, like, there's, I think in our heads we're making it better than it was probably going to be turning out. But I think I would have been curious to read the novelization of this to see, like, are there more hints as to, like, how did they first meet? How did she get to know so much about him? Did she learn it from the Validium? Because the continuing implication of this is that the Doctor is one of the founders of Time Lord Society.
Yeah.
And if the Validium, whatever, got loose, or he set it loose, and she came across it, if it's a conscious living entity, it could have told her everything about him. So, like, that's how you could make sense. Also, her making a statue of herself from this living thing. Oh, the vanity is like fucking on point. Like, for someone that is as fucking power mad, but also elitist as she is, shaping a living metal or living weapon into your own image. Oh yeah, fucking tracks. Absolutely, I think she should have killed Richard the minute they got out of the tunnel. I like you. There was like no need for any romantic kind of inclinations from her point of view. She should have just fucking killed him right then and there. So yeah, a lot of potential, absolutely wasted.
Yeah.
Well, do we give the game away? Not quite sure. So here's the point where myself and Trish will stop giving out as much as we do, or maybe give out more, who knows. This is where we give our overall score out of 5. So Trish, you get to go first. Your final thoughts about Remington, if you haven't already given your final thoughts, and then your score, please.
Yeah. So let me give my thoughts about Remington.
Yes.
Mrs. Remington. I don't know why you do. I don't know. I remember you said with the list like Remington. Like, who the fuck is Remington? It's Mrs. Remington. I don't know why you just call her Remington.
Mrs. I think because what happened was, by the time I need to give you the character thing, I hadn't reached her in the story yet. And in this transcript, she's just down as Remington. So I just threw that in as Remington.
Why do people say Remington Steele?
Yeah. Oh my god, how much Pierce Brosnan was in this story. That would have been cool.
Okay, let me just talk about her and why I prefer her to Richard.
Okay.
I actually liked her in her scenes. She's a bit of a stereotypical American, going back and finding her roots or whatever. But I like the fact that she's just a nice person. These two are clearly fucking mental. And she's like, okay, I just want to keep having conversations with you and just trying to engage with you while I take you to your destination, you fucking weirdo. But the reason why I liked it is because of the people from modern day that Lady Painforth and Richard interact with. She is the most normal person. Because those two thugs are, again, I don't know how old fucking Kevin was when he wrote this story, but like, it's like the way my mum would describe, Gen Zs or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get the fact that like Ace can't swear because it's Doctor Who, but they try to make Ace be 16. These two goes, "Who are you, social workers?" I was like, what the fuck was that? Whereas Mrs. Remington, at least, she's a American socialite. Cool. She plays the part well. It was a fun scene. Her side of it, anyway. Richard was shocking, anyone was doolally. But I like the fact that she's just like trying to connect and just trying to be a nice person. And I much preferred that to, what are you, social workers?
Oh, yeah.
Stupid shit. Yeah, so you may have picked up on it. I didn't really enjoy this story at all. I'll talk about what I did like. I liked the Doctor and Ace. Both separately and together. I liked the little scenes of them listening to jazz. I liked the tender moments between them. I liked how they both were independently, and I actually liked that they spent most of the story together and they weren't splitting off and having their own separate adventure. I liked the fact that they were together for most of it, supporting each other. I liked that. Now on to what I didn't like, because that was the extent of what I did like.
Everything else.
As a 25th anniversary story, we've already reviewed the good 25th anniversary story, which was Remembrance of the Daleks. Remembrance should have been the 25th anniversary. I know it doesn't have anything to do with Silver, Jonathan Turner, but it was set the day after the original one. They go back to Coal Hill School. That is how you recognise the history of Doctor Who. Not this, where you shit on a fucking key villain. We'll talk about the weird Doctor Who is the Doctor thing in a second, but like, this is just poorly written. And Jesus fucking Christ, why, in the name of God, when the Nazis arrive in England, right, and they arrive at the crash site, why did they get this grand hurrah Saturday morning cartoon victory music? They're the fucking Nazis. Why are you giving them, hey, we're going to save the day, they're fucking Nazis. What the fuck did you give them happy music for? Like, who the hell did that? Also, again, to our point, why have Nazis in it at all? They have fucking nothing to do with this. None of that's explained. The whole idea of Hitler has a thing about the occult, you need to explain that. Because unless people are really obsessed with Indiana Jones, which admittedly at this time some people were, they're not going to fucking know that, particularly as Lady Painforth is made up. It'd be one thing if they were going to find, the Crystal Skull, or they were going to find the Spear of Destiny. And that's what it was, that they thought the arrow was the Spear of Destiny, and that was a mistranslation somewhere down the line. That would have made more sense. The key thing here is you have 3 separate factions of villains, and not one of them gets enough development to truly be worthwhile. The acting for most of them is mediocre. And I'm including the Cybermen in that, to your point from earlier. And the story itself doesn't make any sense. Then we have the who is the Doctor thing. Now, this is something that in modern Doctor Who gets on my tits. Right? And we will talk about that when we get there. Looking at you, fucking Stephen Moffat. But this is the earliest incarnation of it. The whole Cartmel plan is a thing. I get what they were building up because it kind of stemmed a little bit from Remembrance. It carried over into this for a second. But in the context of this story, how much emphasis they put on it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 3-part story. You don't have time to fucking explain. You don't have time for Lady Painfort to have a one-on-one scene with Ace where she puts all this doubt into her mind. You don't have time for that. So all you have is her saying, I know who you are, I know all your secrets. Him being, I don't fucking care if you know my secrets or not. And that's the end of it. There's no follow-through on it. Like, that type of thing is better had over a number of episodes, like a number of stories, where small things happen. Not a repeat of the opening story. So, yeah, I think the story is shit. I would not recommend watching it. I like the Doctor and Ace. And I think this is possibly Ace's best outing to date. Definitely up there in the top 2, in my opinion. So what did I give it? You know, I'm very hesitant to give anything a 0.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give it a 0.
All right.
Only because I don't like giving things 0.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Doctor and Ace stuff is nice.
Mm-hmm.
However, as I said, I rewatched the story. So I watched the story for this a couple of weeks ago, and then obviously we deferred a week, and I watched it again today. The story is 3 episodes long. It felt like it was going on forever. To the point where about 3/4 of the way through each episode, I paused it, opened TikTok on my phone, and scrolled for about 20 minutes because I needed my brain to actually engage with something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have no choice but to give it a 0. I don't like it. I don't like giving it a 0.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I deliberately disengaged from the story several times, opened up my phone, and doom scrolled on TikTok to then get myself ready for more bland, boring bullshit
Mm-hmm.
is saying a lot. What this story is to me is J&T trying to be J&T about it, right? Trying to get an actual royal into the story. Getting, you know, all these stunt castings coming in. The explosions, like all the fight sequences and stuff, brilliant. That I can understand why Andrew Cartmel went back to London. That guy Kevin hasn't a fucking notion what he's doing. I don't want to read the novelization because this fucker wrote that as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think I have no choice but to give it a 0, and I don't like doing that. But no, just skip it.
I'll ask you the question I think that you usually ask me when I've gotten this far. Would anything within the positives give you a non-zero score? Would it not bump you up to like a 0.5?
I think if I was to bump it up, I'd be bumping it up to 0.25.
Okay.
Because the good Sophia and Doctor scenes you can fit into about 7.5 minutes.
Okay.
And spreading that over 3 boring as sin episodes. Like, at one point, they go back in time. Mm-hmm. The Doctor and Ace go back to Lady Painfort's house. Why? He's already been there. He already fucking knows. So why is he going back again?
I think it was like,
why did they go there?
To destroy the evidence of his, or to destroy whatever work was being done. And
to get the gold coins, because otherwise how else is Ace going to have them?
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't. I really don't like this story. I think it's really shit.
Okay.
And I think the reason why it's making me so angry is because it's the 25th anniversary and they had the perfect 25th. Like, if this was the first story of the season, I would probably rank it a 0.5. But it's not.
No.
And it was specifically written to be the 25th anniversary episode. And this is the first anniversary story they've done that doesn't have multiple doctors in it. They only had one doctor to deal with. And they still couldn't fucking write it. So I don't really think I have a choice but to leave it at 0.
Cool.
How about you? Now that my rant is over.
Right. So, did you, in your version of this, are episodes 1 and 3 longer?
I wasn't paying attention because I was
Okay.
losing the will to live.
So, on the version that I have, episodes 1 and 3 are both 29 minutes each.
Hmm.
And episode 2 is the standard 25.
So on the Blu-ray
Mm-hmm.
collection, I do know they do a lot of special editions of Sylvester's episodes
Mm-hmm.
where they include deleted stuff. I just watched the standard release. I didn't watch the special edition release.
The one I have is probably standard release because this is before Blu-rays were a thing. Or at least Doctor Who on Blu-ray was a thing. So anyway, okay, positives. The darker nature of the Doctor coming to the fore. The interactions with the statue, the interactions with Penfort. I look again. There's not a whole lot to him, but I liked what was there. Ace is fantastic. Absolutely, this is a contender for a podium spot in the Rambling. At the very least, a bronze, maybe higher. We'll see how it goes. Although,
I mean, we still have next season to go. Like in next season,
we've still got especially the penultimate story. Yeah. So yeah. But Ace is great in this. Absolutely fantastic. Chris Clough, look, at least you went out on some bit of a high note with some of your direction, because like those fight scenes are fucking really good. So hats off to you with that. And look, the tense moments between the Doctor and Ace interspersed with the sweet ones, and like that mirror darkly relationship that they've, like it's not one and Vicky, as I said, it's like a dark twisted version of it. So I liked all that. But Jesus Christ, the rest of the story is such a convoluted mess. Like, as I said, having the threats from different time zones, I get it. I really understand. I get where you're coming from. But you can't have two from the same fucking time. And if you're going to do that, it can't have one be drastically overpowered compared to the other one. Because it's like, the Nazis just look silly. As I said, they look very Saturday morning cartoonish. They look very Blues Brothers-ish. And if you actually had Cybermen, it would be interesting. But you don't have Cybermen. You've got lads in very bad fucking sparkly outfits with Cybermen helmets, and they're not Cybermen. So, why the fuck can't they get them right anymore? I'm going to disagree with the Remington thing. As I said, you could have had any just random Joe Soap pick them up. You could have been a farmer in a truck. It could have been a It's the stunt casting nature of it. He hires people that have okay, he's been trying to appeal to the American audience. Fair enough. He's hiring people from a bygone era in US media. The two lads from the fucking Delta and the Bannermen were not at the time mainstream popular in the US. The same way with Dolores Gray. Big star on theatre and Broadway. Wouldn't have mainstream appeal at that time. It's different to the stunt casting that Moffat did. Because, again, he was hiring... I know I have thoughts on that as well, but at least the stunt casting that he was doing was culturally relevant to the time that he was doing it in. This is John Nathan Turner just fulfilling all his fucking wet dreams. I fucking despise that man. It took it. John Wiles was the person that I did not like for the longest time because of his antagonistic relationship with fucking Bill Hartnell, his piss poor treatment of the likes of Maureen O'Brien and some of the fucking directors or whatever. John Nathan Turner, I think, is fucking worse than him because John Nathan Turner has made the show entirely about him. And he does not care about the fucking show. So fuck that guy. Andrew Cartmel, look, absolutely him leaving, I get that. But I really wish he'd fucking fucking stand his ground. Say what you want about Eric Soward, and I say an awful lot about him. At least he had the fucking balls to stand up to John Nathan Turner at times. So I'm not getting that from Andrew Cartmel whatsoever. I think the parts I liked of this story, I'm not going to give it a 0, but it's not going to go higher than a 1 for me. because I genuinely enjoyed the parts with Ace and the Doctor an awful lot. And Penford kind of interests me. And plus, I just think the bits with Richard are funny. They're very Blackadder-ish, they're very out-of-timers, or just visiting, whatever the case is. And with the Penford thing, absolutely. They just, because of John Nathan Turner's desire to have this based in fucking England, because he wanted a royal in it. Like, there's a person, Gilles de Rais, one of Joan of Arc's confidants, the guy that was fucking tried as a witch because he was apparently fucking into Satan worshipping, murdering kids, all that type of shit. There's a real life villain for you that would be very easy to draw from. He's the inspiration for that fucking story, Bluebeard. Like, have him be your person and just set it in France, shoot it in fucking Windsor Park or whatever it is, but just say that it's in France. If you're going to do that thing, because yeah, like if you wanted to go down that route, having a female antagonist though, like I like it because it's very, if, as you say, if you'd given the opportunity for her to get into Ace's ear, Ace could, like, you've got the whole thing of like of a woman that's not of her time, feeling very different from society. Ace could gravitate towards that. Same way you could do like a very kind of charismatic male villain, but having the, oh, I'm a woman, I'm also ostracized by society, I don't feel right, I'm destined for greater things. Ace could gravitate towards that very easily if done correctly, but it's not done correctly anyway. But I'm not going to give it a 0. I'm going to give it a 1 because I just think the performances of Sylvester and Ace, the bits with the statue, they're phenomenal moments. I really, really think they're great moments. And the bit with the Doctor and the Nemesis statue, will I have my freedom? Not yet, not until I say so. It's burned into my memory. It really is. So yeah, it's a 1. It's fucking disappointing that for the 25th anniversary, that man cannot fucking step off his own dick to make it about the actual fans rather than himself.
Yeah, I agree with you on the stunt casting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree on the character of Mrs. Remington because of the stunt casting. I would separate those two things. If you had Mrs. Remington be played by a nobody, would you still have hated her? It is my question. Because I didn't know who Dolores Gray was until I looked it up later.
I think I would, because of the way that scene just breaks up the way it breaks up the scene between Ace and the statue, and then it's just so jarring having that unnecessary thing. Like, you could have like the whole thing with, say, just someone else picking up Richard and whatever, and then only give it like a 30-second casual thing, as opposed to this back and forth eating up screen time. So it's like the stunt casting doesn't help, because I think that character could have been 30 seconds, but because there was stunt casting involved, it expanded the role to make it meatier for the person being brought in.
Okay, fair. But yeah, so not the best. So overall for this season, you seem to be ranking the stories higher than me.
Mm-hmm.
So 5, 3.25, and a 1 versus a 4.5, a 2.75, and a 0. I think this is my second 0 ever.
No, you've never given a 0.
I've never given it. Oh yeah, I keep saying that I gave fucking thing a 0 and I didn't.
Yeah, no. Like, and see, that was the thing. Like, I remember thinking for sure Delton the Bannerman would be the one that breaks you, and it didn't. So,
what did I give that fucking thing? Oh, I gave it a 1. That was back when I didn't really. Yeah, no.
Back when you were young.
I mean, going back now, I also would have given that a 0.
Yeah, back when you were young and foolish.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I mean, could I have given it the 0.5? Maybe. I think I have to go with my gut on it. Like, would I recommend this story to anyone to watch? No.
Yeah.
Just no. Just watch Remembrance, and you get all the same stuff.
Yeah, because I know it's like the thing. Like, I said it about The Awakening, and I said it about like I think Delta the Bannerman is worse than The Awakening, but the bits I like The Awakening are still not strong enough to give it a score. But you asked me, was I sure? So again, returning the favor, because I know that you do not want to rate anything a 0. same thing. Was there anything, were the positives enough to outweigh the bad? Clearly not.
No, I mean, was there bits I liked in it? Yeah. But the way I sort of go my ratings is, would I recommend anyone to watch this episode? No. Am I ever going to watch this episode again? No.
Mm-hmm.
The bits that I liked in it, are they going to draw my attention back again at any point in time? No. Like, I think the difference between the bits I liked in this were mostly the Doctor and Ace. I liked Ace and Nemesis, but it was mostly the Doctor and Ace. And we have really nice Doctor and Ace scenes in other stories. Versus, say, Delta and the Bannerman, where there's a couple of fun bits at the start that I liked. Do you know what I mean? And just a couple of funny bits that were just funny. Whereas there was nothing funny in the story either. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I may regret this going on, but you know, I've again, the example I would use is the fact, okay, yes, I sat down to rewatch it because I wanted to have fresh thoughts for today. But this story is an hour and 25 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down to watch it at 5:10, and I finished watching it at 8:01. I did not leave the couch other than to get my dinner, which was in the microwave. I just had no interest in it. And I took breaks to doom scroll on my phone. So, we'll see. And this is the thing about the scoring mechanism, because I've had someone ask me before, like, oh, like, do we have criteria of like what's a 1 and what's a whatever? And I know when we first started doing this, before we even started, we did consider like villains get a score of 1 to 5, and this gets a score of 1 to 5, and we averaged them out. And it's like, no, like it's mostly based on vibes.
Yeah.
And like, if I was comparing, like, I think if I was to give the 0.5 or the 1 to Silver Nemesis, I'd have to go back to Remembrance and bump that up to a 5.
No, I get it.
Because those two things, in my mind, are at least 4.5 points apart.
Yeah. But it's like,
You know what I mean?
but it's like I think I've been more generous with the 5s than you have. Like, I've given the Rescue a 5, I've given the Crusades a 5, I think. But it's like, we take a look at the Romans, and like the Romans, like a lot of people kind of look down on it because like, oh, it's trying to be Carry On. It's like, nah, fuck it, the Romans is awesome. And like,
it really upset me that when they did the behind the sofa of the Romans, they didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I was so sad. The Romans is like one of my favorite classic stories ever.
Absolutely. But hey, are we the behind the sofa for some of you out there that actually really enjoy Silver Nemesis? And if we are, please let us know. As we said, this is just our opinions. Everyone's opinion is valid, except John Nathan Turner, because fuck him. But we have one more story to go before we finish out this season. We do. It has some heavy lifting to do on my side. My current average is a 2.42, so it has some heavy lifting. Okay, let's play with the numbers here for a second. Yeah, and like, to be fair, it's got heavy lifting to do, and it's not starting off well because there's clowns in it. Yeah, I need to give it. Fuck. Oh, Jesus. I need to give it a 4.75 or higher for my average to break a 3. Okay. That's going to be quite hard because there's clowns in it. Yes, there is. And it automatically has lost like points for clowns. Yeah. And yes, everybody, that's a perfectly reasonable thing that things lose points for clowns. Paddy's loses points for snakes. I can lose points for clowns. Yep. But the whole point of irrational fears is that they're rational. But hey, at least it's got Frost from Aliens in it. But yeah, so next week or next time we're going to have the final story of this season, Greatest Show in the Galaxy. Yes. Until then, guys. Bye. Bye.